First vulnerability is malware and ransomware. Malware is any malicious type of software, whether it's a virus, a worm, a Trojan, if you will. But ransomware is a type of a virus, and it infects your computer and it scrambles and encrypts all your data so you can't read it, and then it asks for a ransom. It's really interesting. I had a company call me out of Ann Arbor years ago, and they tried to log into their QuickBooks server to access their QuickBooks, and they couldn't do it. So I drove to the company. I got into their QuickBooks server and realized that everything was encrypted. There's nothing I could read. Every file was encrypted. And there was a flashing banner on the desktop that was saying that all your data has been encrypted. You need to send $20,000 to this crypto address. And they gave us a Proton email to communicate back and forth. I had to contact a company out of Chicago that deals with this type of threats. They were able to be the middleman and negotiate with these hackers, and they brought the price down from $20,000 to $6,000. And so they gave us the unencryption key. I put the unencryption key in, sure, everything came back. We obviously moved that server out of commission, set up a new server, and put the QuickBooks, and he was up and running. But he lost a week's worth of work and $6,000. So it can be pretty substantial. Nowadays, this was maybe 8-10 years ago, we're looking into hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So if you have a big company and your system goes down, there's nothing you can do. You're gonna have to pay the ransomware. So it's really important to protect yourselves against that. And the best way is obviously to keep your antivirus and endpoint protection up to date. That's number one. If the operating system doesn't have some type of protection, it's definitely worth getting antivirus and anti-malware protection. So you want to make sure that that's up to date so it doesn't lapse and create issues. Regular backups, whether you're doing a local backup, offsite backup, or cloud backup. The way Apple treats ransomware is that all apps at the App Store have to be reviewed by Apple, and they have to be notarized. So there's a huge vetting process. If you want to write software for Apple, it's very difficult. Like I said, they have to be signed and notarized, so that means they're free of malware. It's almost impossible to write software for Apple and put it at the App Store that would have malware because of that type of security. Sandboxing, this is really a very clever part of the operating system. When you run an application on your Mac computer, it stays in this container. I call it a sandbox. So every application that launches will stay in its own little sandbox. So they can't cross-contaminate. So if you do have a corruption or some type of infection on one of the applications, only the application gets corrupt. It doesn't infect the operating system, so it's very safe. So it's a great way to utilize these security protocols. Xprotect, most people don't realize, is a malware removal that's embedded in the operating system for Apple. So you don't even have to get a third-party anti-malware software because it's built into the Apple system. It constantly updates and removes malware in the background. Gatekeeper is a part of the operating system that when you launch an application, Gatekeeper is going to look at that. Remember we talked about how they have to notarize the apps in order to be on the App Store? Well, Gatekeeper, when an application launches, it checks for that notarization ticket. If it's not notarized, it won't launch the app. So again, you're protected because